And this is his story. A picture book of Martin Luther King Jr. by David A. Adler, illustrated by Robert Casilla. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of America's great leaders. He was a powerful speaker, and he spoke out against laws which kept black people out of many schools and jobs. He led protests and marches demanding fair laws for all people. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. Martin's father was a pastor. His mother had been a teacher. Martin had an older sister, Willie Christine, and a younger brother, Alfred Daniel. Young Martin liked to play baseball, football, and basketball. He liked to ride his bicycle and to sing. He often sang in his father's church. Young Martin played in his backyard with his friends. One day, he was told that two of his friends would no longer play with him because they were white and he was black. Martin cried. He didn't understand why the color of his skin should matter to anyone. Martin's mother told him that many years ago, black people were brought in chains to America and sold as slaves. She told him that long before Martin was born, the slaves had been set free. However, there were still some people who did not treat black people fairly. In Atlanta, where Martin lived, and elsewhere in the United States, there were white-only signs. Black people were not allowed in some parks, pools, hotels, restaurants, and even schools. Martin learned to read at home before he was old enough to start school. All through his childhood, he read books about black leaders. Martin was a good student. He finished high school 2 years early and was just 15 when he entered Morehouse College in Atlanta. At college, Martin decided to become a minister. After Martin was graduated from Morehouse, he studied for a doctorate at Boston University. While he was there, he met Coretta Scott. She was studying music. They fell in love and married. In 1954, Martin Luther King Jr. began his first job as a pastor in Montgomery, Alabama. The next year, Rosa Parks, a black woman, was arrested in Montgomery. She had been sitting just behind the white-only section on a bus. When all the seats in that section were taken, the driver told her to get up so a white man could have her seat. Rosa Parks refused. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. led a protest. Blacks throughout the city refused to ride the buses. Dr. King said, "There comes a time when people get tired of being kicked about." One night, while Dr. King was at a meeting, someone threw a bomb into his house. Martin's followers were angry. They wanted to fight. Martin told them to go home peacefully. "We must love our white brothers," he said. "We must meet hate with love." The bus protest lasted almost a year. When it ended, there were no more white-only sections on buses. Dr. King decided to move back to Atlanta in 1960. There he continued to lead peaceful protests against white-only waiting rooms, lunch counters, and restrooms. He led many marches for freedom. In 1963, Dr. King led the biggest march of all, the March on Washington. More than 200,000 black and white people followed him. "I have a dream," he said in his speech. "I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." In 1964, Dr. King was awarded one of the greatest honors any person can win, the Nobel Peace Prize. The country was changing. New laws were passed. Blacks could go to the same schools as whites. They could go to the same stores, restaurants, and hotels. White-only signs were against the law. Dr. King told his followers to protest peacefully, but there were some riots and some violence. Then, in April 1968, Dr. King went to Memphis, Tennessee. He planned to march so black and white garbage workers would get the same pay for the same work. On April 4th in Memphis, Dr. King stood outside his motel room. Another man, James Earl Ray, was hiding nearby. He pointed a rifle at Dr. King. he fired the gun. An hour later, Dr. King was dead. Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of a world free of hate, prejudice, and violence. Carved on the stone which marks his grave are the words, "I'm free at last." Dr. King was a personal hero of mine. He was a towering figure who stood for what was right in the world. He won the Nobel Peace Prize because he led a non-violent movement for social change, which ultimately resulted in overturning the laws which allowed for discrimination. In the 1980s, I worked with many others to help create the national holiday honoring his birth we celebrate each January. So, now that you've heard his story, Martin Luther King Jr. Day can be more than just a day off from school. On King Day, remind yourself that you can make a difference in this world by treating others the way you yourself would want to be treated. Make that dream your reality today. I'll see you next time.
I have a dream that my poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Good evening, all my South Orange Maplewood listeners, and all those other listeners in the towns of Milburn, Livingston, Irvington, West Orange, East Orange, Orange, and Newark. Welcome to In the Village with Anselm and Marjorie on the South Orange Maplewood Online Radio Experience, and live on the World Wide Web at SOMO.org, and the only radio show covering all your news, opinions, politics, talk, and sports happening in the South Orange Maplewood and surrounding communities. You can listen to us every Monday through Friday from 8 to 9:30 p.m. That's Monday through Friday from 8 to 9:30 p.m. and reach us at 973-327-3626. That's 973-327-3626 to participate in the discussion. As usual, we have an interesting program lined up for you this evening, and I look forward to your participation in the discussion. Now, I just played for you a Martin Luther King story read by LeVar Burton. It's called Reading Rainbow Storytime. Just wanted to kick the show off with that, knowing that next week, Monday, we'll celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday with a holiday. So let's go to some local news, and then we're going to get back to the Village Green. And you know, I gotta thank the Village Green. I also have to thank my good friend Jared Kofsky at Place, New Jersey. They did give that event that we are doing on Sunday, quite a bit of pub, so to speak, and we appreciate that very kindly. The Challenge of Black Leadership MLK celebration at the Rack, the South Orange Maplewood Online Radio Experience, and the Get Out Fund, a new community foundations, are sponsoring a forum titled The Challenge of Black Leadership on Monday, January the 19th at the Rack, located at 1844 Springfield Avenue in Maplewood. Community members will discuss the marginalization of Martin Luther King, the misappropriation of his message, and Martin Luther King Jr. life as a prisoner of conscience. Co-sponsors of the morning event are the Get Out Fund and SOMO. Marjorie Lloyd, founder of the Get Out Fund, stated, "In this period of emerging civil rights issue, now is the time to join us for the rededication of preserving human rights. And it's time for us to come together and form a base for what community can be." The Get Out Fund is a new not-for-profit organization serving families of color in South Orange and Maplewood, and dedicated to building community and increasing enrollment in summer travel experiences for students who attend schools in the district. The South Orange Maplewood Online Radio Experience, which is us, provides local radio programming to the Maplewood and South Orange community. Of course, broadcast takes place nightly from 8 to 9:30 p.m., and you can find us at somo.org. Let's quickly hop over to Place, New Jersey. My friend Jared Kofsky. Upcoming event, SOMO to host Martin Luther King Day Forum. This is in Place, New Jersey by our good friend Jared Kofsky. And it's basically the same thing. The South Orange Maple Online Radio Experience will sponsor, and the Get Out Fund will sponsor a forum and at the rack at 1844 Springfield Avenue. So, we do appreciate Jared Kofsky and the Village Green, for doing that advertising for us. Let's continue with the Village Green. South Orange passes social justice resolution commending police. On Monday night, the South Orange Village Board of Trustees unanimously passed a resolution affirming the commitment of the Township of South Orange Village to advancing social justice and reciprocal respect for all. The resolution also commended the South Orange Police Department for its community relation and outreach program. The resolution came on the heels of a request from the Community Coalition on Race last fall to adopt and pass a resolution condemning actions in Ferguson, Missouri, related to the shooting death of Michael Brown. However, South Orange Village trustees rejected the language put forward by the Community Coalition on Race. My reaction is that although I appreciate the efforts to address a very serious problem, I'm disappointed in that resolution, said Village President Alex Torpy in November. We are reacting to tragedies, focusing on stories of one particular tragedy, instead of focusing on root causes. Trustee Sheena Collins said she worried about creeping anti-police sentiment, said Trustee Trustee Walter Clark said, I really want to see this as a preemptive knock against our police department, noting that the police have done an outstanding job with community outreach programs. On Monday, trustees said they were thankful to the Community Coalition Race for forcing us to think. Trustee Deborah Davis Ford said, we ended up with the type of resolution that we are looking for. We hit the right balance. While I didn't like the initial resolution, said Collum, it forced us to think about the core of the message. In fact, Collum said that a number of the new police community relations programs will be coming out of a sit-down with police in response to proposed resolution. I do thank the Community Coalition for that. Later in the meeting, Collum detailed those programs, including Coffee with Cops and Positive Citation. Along with commending the police, the resolution also reaffirmed the village trustees' commitment to support and promote the programs of the Community Coalition on Race. So, I guess they updated that resolution by the Community Coalition on Race. I want to read that, but it's pretty long. Yeah, we're going to read that another time, some other time. It's Resolutions 2015-15. The South Orange Library hosts MLK Day Service Youth Program. The first is Day of Service, Local History Project on Monday, January the 9th, when the library will open to volunteers for local history projects between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. If you have any South Orange photos of group of friends, family, neighbors, or community group, or South Orange postcards, you can use the library scanner to scan a copy for yourself and one for the library. The South Orange Public Library will continue to honor Dr. King's legacy in Rising Stars, celebrating our youth on Saturday, January the 24th from 2 to 4 p.m. The event will highlight variations of art featuring teens in and around the South Orange Maplewood community. South Orange Text Anxiety Health Fitness Challenge Countdown. As day one